if you're unhappy with the way you look, you're the only person who can do something about it. No one else should be telling you. And I wasn't happy. I was obviously unwell. And, as I started losing weight, I'd look in the mirror and go, wow, is that really me? I'd look at my face and Faye would say to me, "Fuck, you're a spunky bugger." And it boosted my confidence, something chronic. Even when I was bigger, she still said to me that she loved me for the way I was and it didn't matter about my weight. It was who I was. But I started feeling more confident in my own body, feeling handsome, feeling good, looking in the mirror and going, you know what? Yeah, I am fucking handsome.
Hello and welcome to the Metabolic Balance Stories podcast. This is where we share real stories and insights to help you on your personalized health journey, optimal health, personalized nutrition with metabolic balance. I'm Cherry Wills, I'm your host, and today I am delighted to welcome a wonderful metabolic balance client. Tarek Jabado is joining me to share his story. He began following metabolic balance, I believe, in around sort of mid 2024 with Dr. Michelle Musca, his wonderful practitioner. And so a big hello to you, Tarek. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share my story.
I'm excited to hear it. So, do you want to just off you go? Really, where would you say your story kind of begins? What's the background?
Well, you know, for myself, I love technology and I'm a bit of a tech nerd. Um, I always work from home and behind a computer. Predominantly work for the government, so I do a lot of sitting, not a lot of exercise, which we can all say we're guilty of that. But yeah, I guess you could say my journey was I'd always eat healthy, but I think it was learning to realize what portion control was, if that makes sense. But yeah, I was suffering a lot of health issues and I couldn't figure out what the cause was.
Yeah. Okay. So, how old are you, Tarek? Would you mind just sharing sort of a picture for people?
Yeah, so I'm currently 41. I was born in May. I was actually grew up here in Perth, Western Australia. So I'm currently residing in East Fremantle with my wonderful partner, Faye. We've been together since May 2022. I can't believe we've been together for 4 years. Where does time go?
Oh, lovely. Oh, that's like, yeah, cool. So, and sort of, you were noticing. So, what were the health issues that you were starting to notice then? What was happening? Is late 30s, like in your 30s, I suppose this might have been.
Yeah, so I guess I started noticing things like when I went to bend down to tie my shoes, I'd be out of breath or I'd be struggling to breathe. And things like just walking around the shops, my left knee would give me a lot of grief. And I was in pain a lot, or I'd get exhausted very quickly. And my weight generally throughout my life would always stay around about the 110, 115 kilo mark. Um, and I've tried multiple different diets like, vegetarianism, veganism, and I don't know why, but my weight started increasing, went from 110 to 120, 130, and my weight kept going up and up and up, and I didn't know what was causing it. It got to the point where my weight got to 165 kilos. I was waking up constantly tired. I felt like I had no energy. Every time I went to the gym, I'd feel like I was coming down with the flu or like I was sick, and I couldn't figure it out. Like people are like, "Oh, just get up and exercise or just go for a walk," and it it wasn't that easy because like I'd try to get up for a walk and then I'd feel sick for the next couple of days, or I'd end up having like a really bad headache. So it was like this perpetual cycle that I couldn't figure out what the problem was, and I'd go to my doctors, and the doctors would just dismiss me and say, "Oh, you just need to exercise more," and what's your diet like? And I was eating lots of healthy food, like lots of vegetables. I don't generally do a lot of takeout, like McDonald's, KFC, Red Rooster. All of that is like a rare treat in my household. We do a lot of like homemade cooking, but it wasn't so much what we were eating. It was how much I was eating.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's difficult to actually to work this out for yourself. I mean, I think a lot of people will relate to what you're saying, that there's a certain, you think you're doing generally the right thing. There's these throwaway comments often by, doctors who, they mean well, they're trying to help, but they don't have the time to go into anything specifically with you. And you're not, but you're suffering. I mean, like you're only, what, late 30s?
Yeah, I'd say late 30s, early 40s. So this was 2 years ago. I'm currently 41.
Yeah, so late 30s, yeah, absolutely. And, like, that's really young. You should not be getting out of breath to tie your shoelaces when you're in your 30s. Yeah.
Like, for me, you go to the doctors looking for help, and if they just say to you, exercise more, that's really demoralizing because it doesn't actually solve the problem. And I'd have blood tests, and my blood tests would come back perfect. And one day, actually, my partner and I went to her GP, which was Natalie Departe at Ellen Health. And she actually put me on to Michelle and saying, well, look, I have a nutritionist who you might want to get in touch with. She's really good and will help you out. And I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm constantly tired. I don't know why, my weight's going up and up. My poor partner had to put up with me snoring like a freight train. Basically, she'd have to rub my hair and, kind of soothe me to stop snoring enough for a window for her to be able to get to sleep before I'd snore like a freight train. And I'd go to bed early, like say 9, 10 o'clock at night. I'd be getting up at 7 a.m. feeling like I've had no sleep at all. I think I even went for a sleep study and they said that I might have sleep apnea. So, maybe it was due to the increase of weight that was causing me to have good night's sleeps. My partner Faye even said that I'd wake up sometimes throughout the night and go like that.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's I mean, that is potentially sleep apnea, is it not? I mean, that's where you're not breathing and you're not getting oxygen fully to the brain, yeah.
And I wasn't even aware of that. Like, you're dead to the world when you're asleep. You don't know what's going on. All I knew was I was waking up tired. I was waking up shattered. I was waking up with no energy. I was grumpy. I was tired. I was grouchy, irritable.
And that should not be happening when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, that's the bit that I often find, so important. It's this, this needed to change. So, heard about Michelle and what, talk us through what happened next.
So I reached out to Michelle in March. Now, my partner Faye and I will admit that I didn't actually start the program until about May, because my partner Faye and I went to Carragini, and she sort of talked me through some of the principles about 5 hours between meals. Now, I was a really notorious snacker, so I'd sit down with, like, say, a container full of carrots and celery, and I'd snack throughout the day, thinking it wasn't going to hurt me because this is all healthy food. Little did I know that that was actually working against me because I'm constantly activating my digestive system, and that's what was causing me to stack the weight on. She took me through some of the key concepts of metabolic balance diet of like the 5 hours between meals, don't eat anything. You can drink water, but avoid things like coffee or tea. So I just stuck to some of those key principles sort of to get used to it a little bit before getting stuck into the real strict sort of like dietary restrictions of the metabolic balance. And even just doing that, I lost quite a bit of weight. I went down from like 160 to about 140 just doing that alone. So without even the principles of all of the metabolic balance diet and the restrictions on vegetables, I'd lost quite a considerable amount of weight, and I was impressed. So it made me even more excited to want to get on board.
Yeah, excellent. And that's the thing. I mean, like, there's so much in just the principles, and then when you add in the personalization. So you then got your plan, and you started. What did you? I think May 24,
Yeah, I'd say late May, early June.
2 years ago. Because we're now, yeah, we're recording this in May 26. So
That was 2 years ago now.
yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah. So then, how did you start to feel?
I'll be honest, the first couple of weeks were absolutely brutal, but if you can push through, I
So, in what way? Share what you mean, because this is important for people to get a real grasp of it. This is real stories. We've got to get the realness going on. Yeah.
I'll be absolutely honest, because it goes from you can eat whatever you want to the first 2 I think the first week or 2, you have to eat a set amount of vegetables. If you do have a coffee or tea, it has to be black. You can't have sugar. It's very strict on what you do. And I think like phase 1, all your meals, you can't do anything with oils. And then you can slowly introduce tea or coffee. I think the first couple of days you're not allowed to have tea or coffee. And for
The first 2 days we try to reduce the coffee, but then after 2 days you can have a coffee with your meal.
yeah, and I'm a everyday coffee drinker, so I can't live without my coffee.
Isn't it interesting that you actually could do it in the end? Like you think, like you love your coffee. I love coffee too, but actually, it's also recognizing that. Yeah. Anyway, it's your story. Please carry on.
Learning to like espressos, even though they're bitter and horrible, learning to adapt.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to just sort of enjoy it and try to find the bits that you like about it. I guess for me, like trying to come up with different little recipes with the limited amount of vegetables you've got. Um, I'll be honest, I'd never used mutton ever in my life before for cooking. And now I make like mutton curry recipes and, you know, chicken recipes or like, for example, with some of the pulses, I might make like breakfast patties or stuff like that.
Did you surprise yourself with what you actually ended up creating? What you do create with your meals?
Honestly, yeah, because you're just thinking, oh, what can I do with this? And then, at one point I was just dicing up any random veg with the meat and I'd get bored of it very quickly. So don't be afraid to experiment if you're not good at creating recipes. And I know people seem to be anti AI, but don't be afraid to ask ChatGPT to create a recipe for you because that's where the mutton curry recipe came from. Surprise, surprise. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
don't be afraid to ask in the group chat. I came up with some really good suggestions. Ask in the Metabolic Balance social media Facebook posts. Some people come up with phenomenal ideas.
They do, don't they? Honestly, I look at it sometimes and I go, "Oh my god, that's such a," because I think we all have to recognize we have our different strengths, but equally, cooking and getting in the kitchen and just preparing yourself a simple meal, it is a skill, but it's a relatively quick skill to pick up, and then you refine over the months and years as well.
Yeah. Well, not only that, like I personally have always loved cooking. I'm not a chef or anything, but I love cooking at home. I especially love making meals for my partner and I. I loved baking bread and making cupcakes and muffins and all sorts of baked goods, which is probably half my problem why I ended up ballooning in my weight to begin with. Sometime like the other night, I cooked a fillet of salmon. No, not salmon. Sorry. Uh, trying to think of the snapper. Sorry. Yeah, I cooked a fillet of snapper and some cabbage and some capsicum and I think a little bit of zucchini as well, and just pan fried it to soften it all. Made sort of like a warm slaw with garlic and salt and pepper and a little bit of smoked paprika, and then you just pan fry the snapper and serve it as is. And something so simple like that ends up being so tasty, and it'll take you what, maybe 10, 15 minutes to cook.
That's it, 10 minutes, isn't it? And it sounds delicious. I'd like to come round to your house for dinner. Um, no, I think this is such an important point to get across, that it's the meals are just great meals that are then, and the portion sizes. So, this was one of the things you mentioned. It's quite an important point for you, the portion size.
Yeah, well, I didn't think because my partner Faye will always say this, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. Portion distortion was my problem. So I'd make a big meal, I'd go for a bowl, she'd have her bowl. If she couldn't finish what she was eating, I'd end up eating her remains. And I think that was part of the problem. And then I'd go back for more. because I'd feel like I was still hungry. Whereas I think metabolic balance diet allowed me to understand that, hey, this is my portion and I need to stick to that portion. If I'm still hungry, I can have a piece of toast or I can have a piece of fruit. And honestly, on the first couple of weeks, I'd eat my portion and I'd be like, I'm stuffed. And I wouldn't feel hungry for like until my next meal. And if I was late for that meal within the 5 hours, I'd start getting headache. So it is important. Don't skip your meals. I don't care what anyone says. Don't skip breakfast. Don't skip.
Totally agree.
Don't skip dinner because you are doing your body a massive disservice.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I love that. Absolutely. And then sort of how did you start to feel? I mean, because I think this is the first few weeks there's a certain challenge to them. Of course there is. But also you got to know you're doing something good for yourself. You're feeling better, you're seeing results. What would you say?
I started feeling like I had more energy. I was getting better sleeps, like I'd wake up not feeling tired anymore. And I didn't realize that my metabolic diet list had a limitation on tomatoes. And I used to love tomatoes. Like tomatoes are my absolute favorite vegetable or fruit or whatever. And I'd just like eat a punnet of cherry tomatoes or I'd have spaghetti a lot. But I noticed that my joints were always sore, or always inflamed, or I was always cloudy or foggy. And that I think restricted me to, not having tomatoes more than once a week. So when I restricted it, I was feeling more energetic. I felt better about myself. I didn't feel so cloudy. I felt a little bit more switched on. Like I wasn't so tired all the time. Even my partner said I wasn't so lights on, no one home anymore.
Yeah, which is so much better for you and for everyone around you too. I mean, like it is that just you're more present in the moment all the time.
Yeah, and I even noticed like I was able to do more. Like I could do theater and acting and filmmaking and do all these things that I couldn't do before because I had no energy. Like I was going to theater and coming home and crashing out, and then I'd be stuffed the next day, and it wasn't good to be having time off from work. Whereas I could go home, crash out, and be okay the next day and be ready to go.
Yeah, isn't that cool? It's the yeah, because we all have our own passions that we want to achieve. Because I mean, you work hard, at the computer at your desk, but then also you've got your other passions as well. That really, and if your health is stopping you from actually enjoying anything else outside work, then there's got to be something that has to give and change.
Yeah, it's really depressing and demoralizing. Like you want to go out and hang out with your friends. You want to go out and do the things that you enjoy. And if you're constantly feeling tired and run down and worn out, you're not really motivated to do that. And not only that, but then I was getting compliments from all my peers. Oh, wow, Tarek, you look so great. You're looking healthy. You're looking well. Like my skin color, my face, my complexion. I used to break out in pimples all the time. That's reduced a lot. Although I do notice sometimes if I treat myself to some chocolate cake, pimple galore. So I know it's sugar. So
That's all the education, isn't it? It's like learning. I often say MB is actually more about education than anything else. You kind of, you focus, you learn, you follow a certain plan, with the food list, the menu plan, but you're always learning and noticing now things, how your body's responding. Because we don't ever do this when, this is not taught in schools, for example, which I've certainly heard that other people say how it should be, but it does. But that's another conversation. But for you, as a professional working and wanting to just have a good work life balance and enjoy life with your partner and all this kind of stuff with Faye, you want to feel good.
yeah, exactly. Like I don't want to be 50 or 60 and then have all these health complications. I want to live until 90 or 95 and have little to no health complications. Like that was one of the main things that kind of pushed me towards doing the metabolic balance diet. my weight was just out of control, and I didn't want to have complications like diabetes or anything like that. I wanted to make sure that, like, because if you don't look after yourself, you're stuffed. Like, once you end up having to have surgeries and this and that, it's your body's just never gonna be the same. I was worried about having a heart attack. I was worried about all these health implications, so I had to do something. I just had to.
Yeah, yeah. And probably my question is how, we're 2 years on, how long did it take you to lose the weight? Probably is what a lot of people might be asking. So you went from 165, you got down to 140, generally with just good balance of the structure. Then we get your plan, and then what happened, and what's the time frame?
So I got down to about 105, which I was quite impressed with. I haven't managed to get back down to that. I think I'm currently sitting around about 115 to 120. I have fallen off the wagon a little bit and gotten a bit complacent and lazy, but I have stuck to the principles of the metabolic balance diet, and I have reached out to Michelle because I know after 2 years you have to redo the diet. But to answer your question, let me have a look because I know it was quite a few while. Like, I didn't see the results ease like quickly. Uh, I did start noticing them around about. Let me have a look. Sorry, I'd say around about July. Around about July, I really started to notice it. I looked at it myself in the mirror, and I'll be honest. Like, in the past, I'd look at myself in the mirror and go, "Yep, that's me." I never really looked into the mirror and said, "I'm handsome," and I apologize for swearing.
No, I love that.
It's taken me a long time to get that confidence to just love myself. Because at the end of the day, you have to love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself and you're not doing it for yourself, honestly, why are you doing it? And I had the encouragement to grow my hair out.
Mhm. Oh, look at that. Okay, so yeah, beautiful.
And, I just have the encouragement to be myself and accept myself for who I really am and my quirks and my qualities and everything. And at the end of the day, don't do it for anyone else, do it for yourself. Because if you're doing it for someone else, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and it's investing in yourself, and this is the bit that I think because we're looking after ourselves and nourishing our bodies in the right way, your body really I don't know, it's sort of the way of saying you've probably said it far better than I have, but
Sorry.
it's all good. um, it's that whole, you become in sync properly. You feel comfortable in your own skin. That's probably what I'm trying to say. It's just feeling comfortable in yourself, and like you say, accepting yourself.
I've always been, even like in high school, I've always been a bit of a bigger, bloke. I've got broad shoulders. I'm quite a stocky build. But I've never seen myself as like a overweight person. Every time I'd go to the doctors, they'd be like, "Oh, your BMI is quite high. You fit in the obesity thing," which always upset me because to me, I didn't feel obese. I didn't feel out of weight, and I tried to go to the gym, and I didn't really have a lot of positive experiences going to the gym. Before I joined the metabolic balance diet, I tried to get a personal trainer who, did actually try to help me and formulate a plan. And I was trying to go to the gym regularly, like for months and months, I would try. And, you know, I'd go to the gym like a couple of weeks and then I'd start feeling sick or like I'd feel like flu like symptoms. So I'd stop going. And then as soon as I went back, I'd start feeling sick again. And I'm thinking, what on earth is going on? But when I started doing this metabolic balance diet, I felt like I didn't even really need to go to the gym. As long as I did, like, say, a 30-minute walk around the block, or just like a brisk walk, or even just I don't know what you call a moderate paced walk around the block. It doesn't have to be fast, it could just be your normal pace.
Yeah, you were active. You had movement and activity.
Especially because as I said, I do work from home a lot. Thankfully, my job allows me to work remotely, which is really helpful for me because my partner works FIFO. So when she's home, I can keep an eye on her and look after her when she comes home from work. And it's just so much easier because I'd be getting up at like, say, 6 o'clock in the morning to be leaving the house at 7 to get into the office by 8 because I live in Fremantle, so it takes almost an hour to get there, even by public transport. So by the time I got home, I felt like the day was just basically gone. Whereas now, come 4 o'clock, I go for a walk down, around East Fremantle. I come home, I spend time with Faye, or I go to theatre, I do acting. On the weekends, I do filmmaking.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing here is that, so and what I hear a lot actually is that, previously when you were just trying to do the exercise, you weren't getting any fruit from your labors there at all. There was, in actual fact, it was your body, it was too sick. And this is so important. Exercise is vital. We know that there is, so much, thousands, hundreds of thousands of research papers. We know exercise is important. But it also, in my opinion, it's got to come in the right way. It's got to come in actually for a healthy body. And if you bring a healthy body into play with the right food first, allow the healing from the food to happen to the best of it can, get the balance back. Then when you bring in the activity and the movement, then you get the true benefits that we know exercise and movement and activity can bring.
Yeah, well, like, I used to love cycling a lot. I still do enjoy cycling, but, like, when I felt sick, I didn't feel like doing anything. Um, as I started losing the weight, my partner Faye and I would go out on bike rides together, or we'd go down to South Beach foreshore, and go swimming. I felt more energetic. I felt, more, I don't know, I guess you could say almost alive. Like I'd gotten all this energy back, and, it enabled me to have more, self self confidence in acting, and that self confidence comes through.
Yeah, yeah. And what I think is a great message that I hope is coming across for people, that I'm picking up anyway, is it's the life you've now created for yourself. You have put the effort in. You have actually learnt the tools. You've worked with Michelle. You've got you've invested in getting that education and that plan. But for all of that, you've got so much now. You've got a genuinely full life that you can enjoy with pet.
Yeah, honestly. And, sure, people might go, "Oh, but I can't afford it," and blah, blah, blah. Look, I get it. We all have financial commitments, but if you can spare the cost for the diet and to pay for it, it is really worth every single cent. And I cannot stress that enough. It's not expensive. I actually thought it would be a lot more expensive. And I'm not trying to make a sales pitch here, but for $1,800 to sign up and for them to do your bloods, they give you a tailored response. You know, I keep this right next to my computer desk every day
And yeah,
as a reminder of my journey. It sits next to my desk every day as a constant reminder.
awesome. Yeah.
Honestly, I would advocate anyone who is having doubts. This is my advice to you. What have you got to lose? Give it a try.
Mm, mm, yeah. Yeah. I think, and I appreciate that a lot, because we are just trying to get the message that education, learn your plan, and then, and like, that's the one cost you've had, really, isn't it? You learn, you do the education, you do the work, you have the support with your practitioner. It's that professional support, and then I mean, like, it's interesting now you say, because um, you're going to do a little reset, because it is important to reset you can't just do one thing in life and expect your body to now be amazingly healthy forever. We do have to reset for normal life stresses and strains.
Yeah. Well, like, I'll be absolutely honest with you. The 2 years have lapsed, and I've fallen into some bad habits again. Like, I've caught myself snacking throughout the day, or reaching for a hand of chips every now and again. And I'm like,
Yeah.
look, it's okay to have something occasionally, don't punish yourself for it. Acknowledge it, go, yep, okay, I acknowledge that I've done this, but just try and do better. So next time, instead of eating the full packet of chips, eat a small handful. And it's okay to have a bowl of ice cream once a month. You're allowed to have that treat. Food isn't inherently good or bad. It's everything. From what I've learned from metabolic balanced diet, everything is just about moderation.
Balance. It's about balance.
Exactly.
Mm. Mm, yes, and that's so important to get across. I think because we do need. There are times you need to focus, and that's the same with anything in life. There are times when you really want things to change, when you want something to shift. Then you do need to focus to allow that healing to happen, to allow that change to happen. But then there are the times we actually do wanna cruise a little bit and just enjoy a holiday or enjoy Christmas, and you do cruise slightly, but you also know certain new boundaries as well. And you know more.
Exactly. Like, the other day I went out and bought myself a small tub of Pringles, and I felt yucky afterwards. Like,
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
you don't feel bad. Like, it was tasty, but you physically feel ill. And I'm like, I knew I shouldn't have eaten that, and I felt physically ill. So before that, a pack of Pringles would be nothing, but now I felt physically ill after eating them. So I think the metabolic balance also makes your body realize, hey, maybe these things aren't so good for you. Or if you do, just eat a couple.
It's what we need to know. There's this. I often say it's a bit like we just have to be honest. I think there's a degree of honesty, and I love the fact that you're really honest with what you're saying and what you're doing for yourself, and it's that lovely acceptance and then the self care that comes.
Well, if you can't be honest with yourself and you can't take accountability for your own actions, then at the end of the day, what have you got to what have you got? You've got, you know, so my my take or my advice to anyone who is willing to take it is be honest with yourself and just do the right thing for yourself. Because at the end of the day, you've only got yourself to hold accountable.
Yeah. And how's all the snoring going? Just going back to that. How's it? Is that?
Not nowhere near as bad. Like my partner Faye now says, like if I do snore, it's only when I'm had like a really broken sleep, or if I'm absolutely exhausted. And we've had like a full day of filmmaking, but she said it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Like not even anywhere close.
Yeah. Yeah. And just yeah, generally and all in all, the future is looking a little brighter.
Yeah, so I reached out to Michelle not long ago because I know generally a rough rule of thumb is every 2 years you're supposed to refresh your metabolic balance diet because your body adjusts.
But you can do. You can do. I mean, this is where you have a chat to your coach. Is it needed? Is it not? It's very much a personal thing. What's needed and how your body is going through life. Yeah.
Considering that I had put on a little bit of weight, I did reach out to her, and she was in the progress of moving. So I'm hoping that once she's settled in, I can jump back on board.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. It's been so lovely to hear your story, Tarek, and I think it's one of the things that I think is so important to come across is also just how important this is for men as well. And I loved how you shared, about that body image. I think this is a conversation that isn't talked enough about for men. We talk about it so much for women, which is vital and incredibly important. But it's men like you. It says something that you were dealing with that every day. And this voice in your head that, was not being kind to yourself.
No, well, I never really used to look at myself in the mirror and go, "Wow, that's a handsome guy." As I mentioned before, I'd look in the mirror and go, "Yep, that's me." So I wasn't really happy with what I saw in the mirror, but I didn't know how to act upon it. And I think what my partner Faye learned from her grandmother is she used to go, well, instead of being your worst enemy, why not be your best friend?
Yes.
You know, if you're unhappy with the way you look, you're the only person who can do something about it. No one else should be telling you. And I wasn't happy. I was obviously unwell. And, as I started losing weight, I'd look in the mirror and go, wow, is that really me? I'd look at my face and Faye would say to me, "Fuck, you're a spunky bugger." And it boosted my confidence, something chronic. Even when I was bigger, she still said to me that she loved me for the way I was and it didn't matter about my weight. It was who I was. But I started feeling more confident in my own body, feeling handsome, feeling good, looking in the mirror and going, you know what? Yeah, I am fucking handsome. I am spunky.
Yeah. And I would also just add to that that I think it's not always about the losing weight, it's actually just the being healthier. It's health. Health is what is attractive. That's what I actually really say. Somebody who is really just healthy and glowing, skin glowing, eyes bright, and just, hair glossy and flowing like yours is now. I think that's what is it. That's what we're looking at here. It's not necessarily the weight loss because it's the weight balance. It's just the feeling good. Would you agree with that?
Wholeheartedly. And, you have to find what makes you happy because if you're not happy, no amount of diet's going to help you. You need to find something that you enjoy, and then the diet will just supplement that.
Yeah, it facilitates it, doesn't it? It allows you to step into a healthful place that you can now actually feel like you can do your passions, that you can be awake, you can go to that event, you can turn up to that party and be with those people.
Just, obviously, I can't influence people's decision, but I hope they take what I say and learn some life lessons themselves. Because at the end of the day, if you can't be kind to yourself, then who else is going to be kind to you? You have to be able to love yourself before you can love others. And that's one key lesson I've learned from all of this. Not to disclose too much about my personal life, but before I met Faye, I went through a divorce for a marriage that I'd been in for a decade. And part of that, I joined acting and went on a soul searching journey. But part of that was also adjusting, and I turned to food for comfort. So you can include this if you want. I don't mind. In fact, I give you my consent to do so. It's just, you know, I was never happy with who I was, and I didn't know who I was because I never got the chance to discover who Tarek is and what Tarek likes. So if you don't have those answers, go on a soul searching mission. Find out what you love. Find out what drives you. What's your passion? What makes you get up in the morning? Because until you find that out, no amount of dieting or exercising or anything is going to help you. Talk to a health professional, see a psychologist, do what you need to work on yourself, because then everything else, like the metabolic balance diet, will only improve your life tenfold. You know,
Mm. It's so interesting because I often do find that when we have clients starting MB, it's a little bit like the window opens, the door of opportunity opens
mm,
to actually now really do that genuine soul, like really understanding of what we want, what we like and what we love. A lot of the time, I think if you this is one of the things I think I love about the order sometimes that you can start a soul searching journey, but actually, until you actually get yourself well and get yourself in balance physiologically and and actually biochemically, you can't always really see the full picture. But then as soon as you put that piece in place, I see so many people I've had so many clients say they've just, finally got out of a job I hated, or I've moved on from a relationship that's not serving me, or I've had the courage to, you know, go for something that I never thought I would before. There's all sorts of things that come about with that.
like never really had the courage to go out and buy my own camera equipment and start a small startup filmmaking production company. It's just Faye and I, but if I'm not out there giving it a try, like we write our own scripts, we get all of our own actors. It's all voluntarily paid until we can start making money from it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. It just brings so much joy.
Exciting.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
That's an exciting venture. Yeah. But you can only do that now because you are actually balanced and healthy. That's the bit that I love. You are looking after yourself. So now you can have your passions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. I honestly have loved hearing your story, Tarek, and I wish you so much success, you and Faye.
That's so much.
And just let me know if there's any like new chapter that happens or whatever. This is all what Real Stories is about because it is real people, and it's probably what lights me up to keep on pushing to get MB more out there. This is what it's about. Yeah.
Like I said, if it wasn't for me going to Ellen Health and talking to that GP, I wouldn't have even known MB existed. Honestly,
We've got a lot of work to do.
yeah.
Mm, yeah, amazing. Thank you, Tarek. I really appreciate it. It's been wonderful to hear your story, and I think it's a really powerful story for others to hear as well. So I know it's great that you shared that. And if anybody would like to know more about metabolic balance, please do go to the Metabolic Balance website, metabolic-balance.com. You can find out details there about how to find your practitioner in your area. And and join us next time for more stories on metabolic balance. Thank you again, Tarek.
No worries. Thank you again for having me. It was a real pleasure.